So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me.
Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
All right, so that is Lauren Daigle. Her classic song, it's not really classic, it's called Trust in You. Anyway, hey everybody, we want to welcome you back here. We are back live. Bible News Radio is back in the house. We are back live here on Blog Talk Radio and on Periscope. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I just want to say thank you to all of you out there who actually followed us on our trip to Southern California. Yes, that's right. The land down under all that concrete. Anyway, Randall is actually working on trying to get the camera to work here on Periscope, but I'm pretty sure in a minute or so you'll actually get to see me. In the meantime, you'll get to see my picture. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming in. And I want to let you know that I really do appreciate you guys who have followed us here on Blog Talk Radio for all these years and subscribe to our podcast and listen to us on iTunes. And if you happen to be somebody who doesn't subscribe to our podcast, we have, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads on our show, which has been here for quite some time. And we really, really appreciate you guys being a part of our Blog Talk Radio audience. Also, want to say thank you to all of you on Periscope who faithfully follow us during the day. We know that we're on during the afternoon, and that's actually intentional. I don't know if you guys realize this, but there's a lot of people who live stream in the evening because, it makes sense. Most people work during the day. And so, we actually live stream during the afternoon. So those of you who are at work, many of you actually listen. I actually have a lot of people who have told me that they listen to me first thing in the morning, which, really, I get email from some of you like, hey, I just listened to your show from yesterday at 3:00 in the morning. And then others of you listen to me at night and tell me that I put you to sleep, to which I say, really? Which, I go, well, that's actually true too. I actually listen to some of my friends and they put me to sleep too. In fact, I was telling one of my good friends, Vicky, that I listen to her and she puts me to sleep. I don't think she appreciated me saying it that way, but anyway, it was true. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the news of the day, and we're going to give a recap of Summit Live, which was held down there at the Millennium Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. We're going to share with you a really cool thing that happened at the end of our stay. Actually, those of you who are on Blog Talk don't know this because, many of you don't listen to us on Periscope, but you should because you get all the behind the scenes stuff on Periscope. I'm just saying. So if you're not following us on Periscope, go to periscope.tv Bible News Radio. And or just go to BibleNewsRadio.com, and right there on the front page there's this little thing that says Bible News Radio on it, and then all you have to do is go ahead and click that, and you can actually, watch us live, or you can watch the archive just by going to periscope.tv/Bible News Radio. And I want to thank those of you who are in the chat room now. I want to thank Mia for coming in, and Melanie, and I know that there's a number of others of you as well. I think Randall's stressing out because he can't get the camera to work, but that's okay. Don't worry. Eventually he will. And when he does, we'll all be victorious. We'll all go barefaced. That was such a good job, barefaced. In fact, the other day when we were on the airplane, it was so funny. We flew Southwest, and Southwest airplanes give you the opportunity to, just board by groups, and then you get to grab your seat. You get to run in there and pick your seat. And as I was following Randall down the middle of the plane, to pick our seat, I referred to him as barefaced, and I had to stop because obviously we were in Group C, so we got stuck with, what was left over basically. Anyway, and there was a woman to my right who started to laugh. And I said, "What are you laughing at?" And she said, "What you just said to your husband, bareface. It wasn't his real name." And I thought that was funny. Anyway, and I just thought it was funny. So yes, and hi Rick, nice to see you. I don't know why I'm not seeing you in my thing though. I'm not sure why that is. I thought I was following you. Let me see here. I'm gonna view my profile and see if I guess I'm not. So now I am. I'm following you. So now I know you're there. Okay. I think I'm following you. Did I just follow you or unfollow you? Anyway, whatever. We will try to follow you in the event that I'm not actually following you. I try to follow all of the people that come in and follow us, just so you know. So, also, we do have our evangelism quote of the day. I don't know, Randall, are you ready for that? Or
not quite.
No? Okay, just want to make sure. So, in the meantime, though, while I'm waiting for Randall to kind of, figure out what he's doing and trying to get me on camera, and also some other stuff he's prepping, let me tell you guys what happened. And those of you who already follow us on Periscope, you already know this. So, sorry if it's you already know it. But Randall and I were trying to cancel our reservation at the Biltmore. Well, we were trying to move it. The Biltmore is this, snooty restaurant in Los Angeles.
Hotel.
Hotel, yeah. That's what I meant. It's a snooty hotel. I knew what I meant. It's Monday. I'm like, my time zone is still off, even though I did play pickleball this morning. But anyway, because I did the reservation through a third party, they refused to move my reservation. Unless I want to pay a couple $100 more, right? Which would have made it like over a $400 night stay for my stay. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. Forget you people. Anyway, long story short, after numerous phone calls and threats, they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. Nothing. And so Randall and I, we ended up leaving on Saturday morning, and I have to tell you that we weren't real thrilled by that, but I told Randall, I said, maybe the Lord just wants us here, so we just have to deal with it. So we go up to the desk at the end, and we got billed $135 for our required mandated valet parking. It was like $45 a night, right? And I'm like, there is no way I'm going to pay that. That's absolutely ridiculous. So then we get up there and they tell us, oh, by the way, this valet parking, just so you know, this stamp that you got from your conference, it's only valid if you move your car, right? And then bring it back. And I'm like, are you serious? And I told the manager, I said, look.
Overnight parking.
I know. Exactly. And so I told her, I said, I want you to know this is like the worst hotel experience I've ever had. And And it is a true story. Absolutely the worst. I've traveled all over the place and never had this much of a headache anywhere except the Biltmore. And so she said, well, she explained, their policy, which I said, is a load of crock, and anyway, long story short, she says, well, because of your trouble, we'll give you two of the 3 days of valet parking for free. We'll just write that off for you. And I looked at her and I did what Vicky would have done. I said, seriously? Is that seriously? I said, you're only going to write off 2. I said, that's absolutely ridiculous. Really? And I said, for everything that you guys have put us through, plus the crappy internet connections that we had here, which we all paid for, by the way, it was part of our ticket, I think that you should, at the very least, pay, write off all 3 days. And so she's like, okay, I will. I'm like, fine, good. I said, I know you don't really give a rip about people, but whatever. And so... And I mean, I was being nice too. I wasn't being mean because I'm not a mean person. It takes
serious topics with a light touch.
It takes a lot for me to really get pissed off at somebody, honestly. And anyway, so to make a long story short, so we're standing there at the Biltmore right there, and then somebody comes walking towards me and says, "Stacy, is that you?" And I turn around, and it's none other than Jamie Grace herself in the flesh. And this is a true story, right? You guys know it took me like a year to get Jamie Grace on our show. And then I gave the interview to Vicky Fitch to do because I love Vicky, and it was a birthday gift to her. And then the day that we did it, all of our stuff, crashed and burned and died, and it wouldn't work. But fortunately, we had it locally recorded, and it was all good. Vicky got an hour with Jamie, and that was very cool. But I was like devastated. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the worst thing in the history of all mankind. That's how I was feeling anyway. So I'm turning there, and Jamie Grace herself comes up and says, "Stacy, is that you?" And she said, "I just sent you a tweet, a private message on Twitter." And she actually did. Basically, she in her tweet, she said, "By any chance you're not here in Cali, are you? LOL." And so I said, "Jamie." Anyway, we hugged, and I asked her why she was there, and she said she was there for Oscar, the Oscar party that somehow, I'm not even sure how it was tied to it, but the Christians were all there and doing some stuff, and I said, yeah, we were here. We were just checking out of this live streaming thing. And anyway, it was just crazy, right? And I'm just like, I'm still in shock, honestly, to tell you the truth. I'm actually, honestly, totally in shock that Jamie Grace ended up to be at the Biltmore Hotel on the day me and Randall were checking out. She walks up to me and says, "Stacy, is that you? I recognize your hair, and I recognize Randall's voice. And I'm wearing my Bible News Radio shirt," right? So I said to her, if you have some time, because she's like, my publicist is late. She got stuck in LA traffic. She's like 20 minutes late. And I said, well, can you do a Periscope? I said, that would totally rock if we do a Periscope. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. So I was like, okay. And thank God the internet worked for that. And anyway, and so then we did this Periscope. It was about 3.5 minutes. It wasn't long because her publicist called during it. And then we got to talk afterwards for a little bit, take a couple of pictures, and then I snapped a picture and sent it to Vicky, and I said, "You're never going to believe what happened." We just, Jamie Grace just came up to me at the Biltmore Hotel. I mean, of all people, seriously, of all the people in the world to show up at the Biltmore, Jamie Grace shows up at the Biltmore at the same time as me, and bareface.
Thanks, Lori. And many people have
Anyway, so that was our cool end of California story, and it is, Randall and I were talking about it, and the lesson that I actually take away from that, again, it goes back to my feminine pad story, the Always Feminine Protection story. Many of you know that many years ago I got a coupon in the mail for Always Feminine Protection, and it bugged me. It did. It seriously harassed me for like a week. And to make a long story short, in the event you haven't heard that story, I finally went down to Target after a week, and after putting it off like a whole week. And when I went down to Target, I actually walked up to the feminine pad aisle, and there was a woman standing there, and I said to her, quote, "Fancy meeting you here." And we start talking, and long story short, it ended up being the auxiliary president of the Gideons of International for the nation of Iceland. She was in town with her husband, who was just happened to be looking for the Gideon president of Orange, California, which just happened to be my husband. Coincidence? God could even use a feminine pad coupon to get you where he wants you to go. So the lesson that I took away from all of that was that the lesson I took away is that God directs our steps. Even when we don't think he is, he is. In fact, I was telling somebody at the summit that, you know, and actually on the airplane ride home, I actually sat next to this guy who just happened to be, now what's the likelihood, okay? What's the likelihood that on the way home from California, I would sit on an airplane in unrequired, you know, like I said, you get to pick your seats, random seats. Randall and I didn't get to sit next to each other on one flight, but I ended up sitting next to the media guy at Lifeway, right? True story. Lifeway, you know, books, you know, the publisher, Lifeway, etc. This guy happens to run Beth Moore's conferences, and Priscilla Shire is how he said it, so maybe that's how it's said. But, you know, he just happened to be the media dude that does all that. I mean, what and I told him, I gave him my card. I said, now, what is the likelihood? I mean, that Bible News Radio would actually sit next to you. And I talked to him the whole flight, actually. And is there a reason we connected? Who knows? I'm not sure. But what I can say is that God always has a reason. If it was just for me to encourage this guy, I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder if you're going to get the camera to work.
Me too.
Randall's trying really hard to still get my camera to work. Yours is working.
Well, yeah, but it's built in.
Oh, that's why. Yeah, bummer. Well, anyway, so that was kind of the thing. So can we do the quote of the day then?
We can do that.
All right, so let's do the evangelism quote of the day. Today, I picked this quote. It's from Corey Ten Boom, and here is what it says. It says, "Is prayer your steering wheel or your spare tire?" I read that and I thought, is prayer your steering wheel or your spare tire? If you know, Corey Ten Boom was a missionary, and she has many great stories. But think about that. Is prayer your steering wheel or your spare tire? Do you rely on prayer every moment of every day, or as much as possible? Or do you just pull it out like you would a spare tire in the event you need it, right? I would venture to say that most people consider prayer a spare tire. But when it comes to your faith in Christ and your walk with the Lord, hopefully it's not. Hopefully prayer is, you know, your steering wheel. It's the power, it's the fuel in your gas tank in order to get you where you are going. And you know, you guys, I have a super good hair day right now too. My hair looks so good today, and I'm like, hey, can't get it. Of course, the true test of whether or not my hair looks good is David, because David will let me know for sure if it does. And David can't see me, but hi, David. I saw you just come in. Glad that you're there. All right, so let's see here. I'm not sure why it's not connecting. Is it plugged in to the camera? Is it?
There's a good idea. Oh, look, it is.
It is?
Yes.
He says. Well, maybe afterwards I'll just do a Periscope, and then you can see how good my hair looks without doing this fancy smancy thing. Also, we should thank our sponsors. Let's thank Ariel Ministries. I have to tell you that Ariel is great. They're our sponsor. They love underwriting our show. It's ariel.org. You go there. You can save 20% when you use the coupon code Bible News. And you know what? Do me a favor and tweet them, or actually email them when you get to the website and say, thanks for supporting Bible News Radio. We appreciate what you do. We love the products and services of Ariel Ministries. They are having, what was I going to say? They are having Camp Shoshana, which is which I was just reading, and then you switched the thing. Camp Shoshana is the program of Messianic Jewish Studies, which it's July 8th through August 19th of this year. There's a lot of cool classes there. If you're interested, check it out at ariel.org and sign up. They're going to be going through the book of Daniel. Honestly, if I had more time, I would probably go to it just to hear Dr. Arnold Fruchtenbaum and these others teach through the book of Daniel, which is, that's awesome. I just would love that. Also, don't forget you can sign up for their email. It's at the bottom of the list. And Yeshua, the book, Yeshua, The Life of Messiah from Messianic Jewish Perspective, Volume 1 is out, and also Volume 2. Tonight we're going to be resuming our study in that. And so I hope you guys who already have the book will join us. I'm not sure where we're at. We'll have to refresh our memory. But you can check that out too and save 20% using Bible News at checkout. And don't forget, this is February, right? So it's still February. So if you haven't donated yet to us this month, you can do that at BibleNewsRadio.com/give. And for a donation of $10 or more, we're giving the book away, Trusting God by Jerry Bridges, which is a really good book. This is USA only donors. And of course, this is our partnership with Tyndale House Publishers and their program that they have partnered with here for us. So that's simple. Or you can just give us whatever you want. If you don't want the book, then just say, hey, you know what? We love you. We appreciate what you do. And we want you to just be blessed. And, of course, my friend Gordon James Klingenschmidt, those of you who've been listening to our podcast the last couple of days, you might have noticed that we actually have 2 more shows a week of his actually coming through our iTunes stream now. And he is also sponsoring our show. If you go to prayinjesusname.org, you can sign up for his insider intelligence alerts, his email list, basically. You can sign up for his email list. Which is actually really packed with great info, by the way. He has free petitions also. And also you can go to faxcongress.com and you can look at the different petitions that are there. And Fax Congress, you can tell Congress how you feel and they'll fax it for free. And or if you want to fax it to more than one person or some other things, and basically they'll go ahead and send you a little upcharge to fax like 535 people as opposed to a couple. And there's Angie, who just came into the room, too. Welcome to the room, Angie. Glad to see you in there. We are having a problem with my camera. That's the only reason I'm not on there right now. All right, so that is our announcements. And so, again, we want to thank you for doing that. But also, I wanted to welcome Randall. Do you want to get on the screen? You want to get on the camera, Bareface? I know it's not your real name, but heck.
I can do that.
You can. Or maybe we can switch seats. I can go over
do
there. I
that.
can't do that because...
Why not?
Well, because my microphone's over here.
Well, you could use this microphone.
We would have to flip the whole thing. We'd have to flip everything around. I wouldn't be able to see anything.
Yeah. No, well.
I'm not sure why that... I wonder why the camera's not working. All right, you prayer warriors out there, pray that somehow the camera will work. And speaking of cameras, those of you in Blog Talk audience, you don't know this either, but I got to tell you another highlight of the Summit Live. This is totally cool, okay? Because it ties into Summit Live. So, Randall and I were. I wonder if you rebooted your computer, but
probably. But we'd lose this. We'd lose the scope, and we'd lose everything. We'd lose both broadcasts, both streams, and
yeah. Melanie's asking, can we both be on your side of the table? It's possible, I suppose. I'm not sure how it would work, though. But anyway, I just have to tell you. So I'm in this. I'm sitting through the Periscope presentation, listening to the lady at Periscope talking about all the upgrades and the different things they're doing to Periscope, and she's asking about. She said I have a couple of giveaways. And so make sure, I'm going to pick a couple of people. Whoever asks the best question, we'll go ahead and give you guys the giveaway. And so I quickly jotted down a couple of questions because I was like, one beef I have with Periscope is that often titles of the shows don't end up being actually what the show is about. and it bugs me. Or like sometimes you accidentally put in something wrong, you misspell it, and you can't go back and you can't fix it. So I was irritated by that. And also I wanted to schedule a show. And so when I got an opportunity, I asked the lady to, about those things. Is this an option that we can, schedule this over or change the title afterwards, etc., blah, blah, blah. And to make a long story short, at the end of the presentation that she did for Periscope, I actually won one of the 2 prizes that she was giving away. And the prize that I won was a 360 camera, which actually it's right here. I actually have it right here. You can't see it because I'm not on camera, but it is an Insta 360 Nano. The vision has never been like this, so I'll give it to Randall. He can hold it up. Anyway, that camera that we won, or that I won, is a $200 camera, you guys. And this is a camera, once we get using it, first of all, we got to be approved by Periscope to use it. But what's really cool, once Periscope approves us to use this camera on our scopes, whenever people come in, they can actually look through our whole room or wherever this camera will give them the view, like 360 everywhere. So, this thing is going to force me to clean up my room here. But it's very super cool, isn't it? See Randall, he's doing it. Oh wait, I have an idea. I'm going to get up. You keep on camera. I'm going to get up so people can see me and how great my hair looks. Okay, wait, hold on.
All right, we can do that.
I do exist, right?
She does exist.
Right, see? All right, see? Doesn't my hair look good?
I don't know how well they can hear you, but...
well, that's okay. All right, so I made a cameo on my own show, so there you go. Anyway, so that was a cool blessing as well. The other thing, when we were in California, we actually got to visit like so many of our friends, and practically every meal was picked up for us in terms of when we went to our friends or whatever. God provided all of our food. One of my friends gave us $100 to help with the trip, so that was awesome. I actually still have the check in my in my wallet, so that was cool. See, what else did we do? We met quite a few cool people at Summit, and I'm happy to say that Joel Comm, who is actually one of the most popular people in live streaming, he was one of the first people to come up to me at Summit. In fact, he was the first person to come up to me. And anyway, I asked him if he would come on the show, and he said he would. So I'm in the process of booking him as we speak. Literally, I got to email him. We became official friends on Facebook today. So that was cool. And if you don't know who Joel Comm is, because you're not part of the live streaming community, he's actually the author of the book Twitter Power, which many years ago was a bestseller. And I actually had bought that book before I even knew who he was, so that was kind of cool, and all that. But anyway, so that's pretty much my update. I don't know, Randall, if you have an update or not you want to share, but then afterwards we got a couple of news stories I want to share too.
No, I'm cool to proceed.
You are?
Yeah.
You're just irritated you can't get me on screen, huh?
Nah, I'm just kind of resigned that it's not going to work. Just the unpredictability of USB devices, and this isn't full-on television broadcast center.
But when we get looped back, will it work then?
Well, that's just for audio, routing audio.
Okay.
But
all right.
But yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Oscars. I didn't watch it because I don't have TV, and I can really care. I don't care. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
I'm not going to say I don't even care. I don't even care about the Oscars. I don't. Oscar who? The Grouch? And anyway, so here's the recap. Basically, the Drudge Report, it has the latest info on it. And there's Vicky. Hi, Vicky. Good to see you. So on the Drudge Report right now, it says, and I quote, the envelope, please, Beatty blows it, ? Ratings fall again. And, of course, the big hubbubaloo, apparently the main picture, the
Best Picture Award. Best
Picture, Tinseltown in the Rain, wrong Best Picture of the Year award was announced wrong. It says here, biggest Oscar disaster in history, Take Two, Moonlight wins, conspiracy theories abound, nightmare ending threatens Price Waterhouse reputation, crisis meetings over blunder, etc., etc. And it says even in memoriam segment showed still alive producer. Kimmel makes fun of names and criticism is immediate. Non-stop Trump bashing on the boulevard. And it says here, for all the immigrants, first win for a Muslim. An actor says, don't build walls. And Iran praises winner for anti-Trump stance. So these are all little headlines on Drudge. And here's actually what I was thinking. And what I'm going to say might make somebody mad. And if you're a liberal, don't take it personally. I'm not trying to attack you personally, but seriously, if this is the best liberals can do in Hollywood, you guys can't even put, the right name of the thingy in there in order to read, the best picture. Liberals? Really? I mean, you're all Marxist liberals anyway, most of you who are in Tinseltown. You're communist types. It's like...
Well, that's a little...
Okay, maybe not quite, but still, if you're... I mean, seriously, liberals? I mean, do you think conservatives could actually do a better job? No, just is like the most probably inflammatory thing I'll say on the show, but really, I mean, I was even watching Jamie Grace tweet about it, and it was funny because she's like, Steve Harvey, where are you? It's like, really? I mean, seriously, people sat through that. Many conservatives and Christians sat through the Oscars, waiting to see the worldly winner of the Best Picture. And in the middle of the Best Picture, being announced, and the person that they thought that they said won giving their acceptance speech, they had to interrupt it and go, oopsie. All right, so there is this part of me that goes, this really wasn't a mistake, and that's why all these conspiracy theories are abounding, because really, seriously.
I mean, how do you get the wrong name in the envelope? I don't know.
And I really don't care. The only reason I brought it up is because it's breaking news. Now, on the other hand, there's another article here about Donald Trump. It says here, this is the pedophile one, Randall, if you want to put that one up.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, so this is titled Unreported, and this is over on the worldtribune.com, so this isn't part of the vast right-wing conspiracy website. It's a legit site. It says here, unreported 1,500 pedophile arrests have been made nationally since Trump took office. It says here, President Donald Trump is making good on his pledge to use the full force and weight of the U.S. government to break up child sex trafficking rings and lock up sexual predators. Since Trump was sworn in, authorities have arrested more than 1,500 pedophiles in the United States. This should be one of the biggest stories in the national news. Instead, the mainstream media has barely, if at all, covered any of these mass pedophile arrests. And this begs the question, why? Liz Crokin wrote for townhall.com on February 25th. The numbers are staggering when compared to the less than 400 sex trafficking-related arrests made in 2014, according to the FBI. In a press conference from the White House on February 23, Trump addressed how human trafficking is a dire problem domestically and internationally. Dedicated men and women across the federal government have focused on this for some time, as you know. It's been much more focused over the last 4 weeks, he said. The press conference was barely a blip in the mainstream media, and the massive arrests have been almost completely ignored by the MSM altogether. Crokin noted some of the major arrests that have been made since Trump took office. On January 27th, authorities arrested 42 in a human trafficking operation in Tennessee, which is good.
Belt.
Yeah. On January 29th, authorities announced that 474 were arrested in statewide California human trafficking operation, and 28 sexually exploited children were rescued. Praise God for that.
Indeed.
178 people were arrested in Texas for sex trafficking in sting that operated in January until Super Bowl Sunday, which, by the way, the Super Bowl is one of the biggest events where sex trafficking happens, unfortunately. On February 14th, the Polk County Sheriff announced that 42 were arrested in Florida in child pornography-related cases. Meanwhile, as the major media ignored these historical arrests, they have zeroed in on casting conservative icon Milo Yiannopoulos, or however you say that guy's name, as a monster. They claim...
Yiannopoulos.
They... Say that again?
Yiannopoulos.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you said that. All right. So can you still hear us, guys? I can't. It looks like numbers are dropping, and I don't see any hearts, so I'm just wanting to make sure we're not dead. Anyway, it says, meanwhile, they claim he supports pedophilia based on comments he made in a video years ago. The reality is Milo was a victim of child sex abuse, and although he did joke about his abuse in an interview, he is in no way promotes pedophilia. The opposite is true, and he addressed the controversy head-on in a press conference. Milo has personally taken down and exposed pedophiles in his columns over the years. However, the mainstream media and the left ignored this information and demonized Milo. The irony of all this is that the left and MSM have been the biggest proponents of pedophilia. Salon has published articles attempting to normalize pedophilia, which is absolutely true, by the way. However, to maintain their faux outrage over Milo, they deleted them. Krogan continued. The face of the very fake news network CNN, Jake Tapper, fired off several tweets condemning Milo. For example, he tweeted, "My friend, a survivor of sex trafficking, Milo straight up defended abusing 13-year-old boys. Please don't let that be normalized." If Tapper is so concerned with sex trafficking, why in the world hasn't he covered the massive sex trafficking arrests that have taken place since Trump took office? It seems he and many in the leftist media are only concerned with sex trafficking if it can be used to destroy conservatives. The good news is that we have a president who genuinely does care about children, and he's vowed to make solving the human trafficking epidemic a priority. The recent pedophile arrests are just the tip of the iceberg. Whether Tapper and his ilk in the MSM like it or not, this story will eventually get so big that they will be forced to cover this horrific epidemic that has plagued our country for too damn long. And I have to say, that's actually in the article. I'm not swearing. It's just true. And the other thing is, too, at Summit Live where we were at, there was actually a lady there representing the topic there and trying to get people aware of that. I will have her on our show in the future in order to, give you some good news. They actually did a whole panel at this Summit Live where the topic was discussed. So it's a big issue. When I was a therapist in Southern California, I actually had the opportunity to work with some sex trafficking victims, and I can tell you, the main one that I remember the most, she was, she had gone through so much horrible stuff. It was not even funny. How anybody can even joke about sexual abuse anyway, I don't know. But I can say that she was probably one of the most sweetest, soft-spoken, gentle people than I have ever met. And it was really, truly an honor to be able to work with her. And, God can heal, but it takes a long time to heal from sexual abuse. People who've never been sexually abused sometimes just don't get it. But there's always an abuse of power, number one, and there's personal physical violation. And whether it's whether there's penetration or not shouldn't even be an issue, especially if it's a child being molested by an adult. That's just the most evil thing, in my opinion. I mean, it just truly is. It's just wicked. And many of us live with memories that we wish we didn't have, and trauma that God never wished for anybody. So let me just tell you, in the event that maybe some of you out there, are talking, maybe some of you have been abused, you've never told anybody. You know what? Let me just say, And I know some people will go, well, that's just so blah, blah. You know, I can't believe you're actually saying this, but I'm going to say it. And it's not your fault. You know, if you've ever been sexually abused by somebody, it's not your fault, right? You didn't do anything to deserve it. It wasn't your fault. And I don't care who likes to claim and try to blame the victims. It's never the victim's fault, right? And the thing is God loves you. And unfortunately, bad things happen. You know, we're all sinners. But you can recover and you can get through it and you can move on. And it's not easy, but there's a ton of help out there. And there are men and women who have relationships with, you know, men and women who've gone through that. And, you know, there are many people who are in relationships, even me and Randall. You know, Randall's an amazing man to have dealt with the crap that my uncle put me through. You know, and so let me just say, you know, don't give up, because, you know, the healing can take place, but it's not easy. And unfortunately, the way the media likes to promote and say stuff, you know, oh, well, yeah, I can just get over it, blah, blah. No, you don't get over it. You don't, I mean, you don't look at a burn victim and go, oh, well, just get over the fact that you were burned. You know, you have 3rd-degree burns and you might need some skin grafts and stuff. I mean, or whatever. You don't tell people that. Emotional trauma is way more severe than physical trauma. And that's the truth. That's why that's why people who've been victims of domestic violence often stay, because the emotional trauma is more, how do I put the word? It's more of a bondage than, you know, being beat up. Because, you know, that physical pain goes away. And you can train yourself to be numb, you know, and take it, you know, disassociate. But the emotional bondage, you know, that takes a long time sometimes. And God sometimes delivers people of that instantly. But most of the time he doesn't, you know. We can be triggered by scent, you know, by voice, by, you know, smell, by touch, various things. I mean, my uncle would touch my hand in a certain way. I told Randall, I said, do not ever touch me that way. Don't ever touch my hand that way. You know, he did certain things. He wore Old Spice cologne. So guess what? I'm never around Old Spice cologne, because that just triggers me. It's like, you know what? This is what he did. It's like, ooh, you know. And not that I hate the smell of it, but there's that trigger. And so, you know, as you recover from your abuse, you'll understand that, you know, that it takes time to work through some of those things. But anyway, do you remember the name of the panel at Summit that was on the sex trafficking thing? Hopefully people...
Well, let's go back to there.
Can you hear us? Can you hear me now?
Well...
Can you hear now, everybody?
That's the right...
There you are. Yeah, they can hear us now.
I don't know why that would be any different, but...
I don't know. Okay, but anyway, so what we were just saying for that few minutes was that Randall was actually on the human trafficking. He actually went to the human trafficking panel. And I'm going to actually find the actual name. But go ahead, tell everybody again what you just said, Randall. That way they can hear.
Anyway, the organization put it together is Help Erase Child Trafficking. And you can find them online at helperase.org. Helperase.org. and they have a 24/7 tip hotline, which is 844-372-7328, 844-372-7328, or help, a lot easier to remember, helperase.org. Anyway, they had on there someone from Department of Homeland Security that deals with human trafficking, and he made a distinction between human smuggling and human trafficking. And just for what it's worth, a short definition, human smuggling would be like sneaking people across the border, that kind of thing. Human trafficking is where human slavery, basically, that whether it's for labor or sex or whatever, people are, treated as products, as commodities, as a consumer good rather than actual people. One of the stats that came up in their slides is that often in these brothels, probably here in the States as well as overseas, that the children are often given numbers instead of names and put on a menu to dehumanize them. So
yeah, see, that just that infuriates me just hearing that.
Yeah. Anyway, there were some very sobering stats there about the millions involved, and more than ever, and the things that were being done, like the arrests and those sorts of things. Say the one on the panel's DHS, Sheriff's Department member, and local police department there in California. All of them working specifically, fighting human trafficking, especially child trafficking. And and I'm glad that such a concerted effort is being made. And they do. And
okay, recovery. Okay, here it is. All right, I found it.
Found what?
The name of the actual event. Okay, so it's called Erase Child Trafficking. It was called Social Media and Technology, a Double-Edged Sword in Human Trafficking. It was Sandy Sparks.
Right, I have her card.
Karina Steer.
Right.
Sergeant Mark Marty. Victor Williams of Homeland Security, and Ryan Bell. It says here, social media and technology are playing bigger roles in a growing business. However, brands and entrepreneurs are not the only ones using it to increase sales. Human traffickers are utilizing them to not only lure trafficking victims, but to sell them as well. Our panel will cover what is human trafficking and how it affects our communities. The panel will discuss how technology and social media has become a vehicle for traffickers, and how, on the other hand, it can be used to stop them. Learn simple ways on how you can use your platform to protect our kids from the fastest growing business of organized crime. Yeah, so that's why that story about Donald Trump and busting pedophiles is key, I think.
Yeah, when a drug dealer sells a drug, or a weapon, and an illegally obtained firearm or whatever, they sell it once. They can sell a person over and over again. Yeah. And that's why it's a growing crime, because of evildoers that see the potential income. And to me, it seems like the way to deal with it is deal with the consumers. But I don't know. I'm not going to go there right now because we've got other stories and this show's almost over. But just to plant one thing in your mind is the description there. They talked about how, these evildoers use social media to lure their victims, and importance of parents knowing what their children are doing, not to spy on them secretly, but let them know, hey, I've installed this tracker on your phone. Hey, I've installed these, this watch software on your computer, and because I care about your safety, and keep that dialogue open. That parents, grandparents, know that the children, you're looking after them for their safety. Not to do anything secretly or spy on them, because that will just, encourage rebellion and secrecy. But to have an open dialogue about these things. And then for the good side of social media is just like what we're doing now for live streamers out there to promote awareness of what's going on. I remember, growing up and, sex workers, prostitutes were, and even today, looked down upon like, sleazy, whatever, criminals kind of thing. But how many women wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm going to go get a job as a prostitute? So often, more than often, almost always, almost 100% of the time, they're lured into it. Coerced, extorted, whatever, into that trade, and then kept there by fear. And so, they are victims of, even though they're maybe adults, they're victims of human trafficking as well. And to attack and arrest the victims doesn't help as much as getting rid of the dealers, the traffickers. And so it's great, this article with 1,500 arrests. It makes me, it upsets me a little bit that 42 of those arrests were here in the state of Tennessee.
That's the ones they found.
Yeah.
Well, remember a couple of weeks ago you told me that there were some kids who missed the bus and you picked them up and gave them a ride.
Yeah.
And I said, this is a true story. Randall saw some kids who they were chasing the bus, and he was on his way to go work out, and he pulled over and he offered them a ride. And my first thought was, I'm so glad that it was my husband, because these kids, what was a boy or girl, or what were they? Tennessee, my thoughts went to, okay, what would this kid say, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. And I was just glad that it ended up being Randall, because obviously Randall didn't do anything except drop him off at school. But if it had been girls and some other perverted guy, kids are trusting, despite the fact that they might be more mature. You might think they're very precocious in some ways. Children are easily manipulated, and don't be stupid as an adult and actually think that children aren't easily manipulated. They are.
I would have not offered a ride to 2 high school girls.
Right.
And if I did and they accepted, I'd scold them.
Right. You'd be like, hey, what the heck?
Don't ever do this.
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway. So, okay, sound can't hear, boy or girl. Yes, you're back. Okay. Yeah, apparently they couldn't hear when you put us up, so.
That doesn't make sense, but.
It's okay. You'll probably just have to reboot the computer after the show, and then hopefully tonight we'll both be able to be on. But let's get to the video of this thing. This is a good news story. Because this is Bible News Radio, I always like to find a show, stories about the Bible. So you need a 90-minute show. It's a possibility. So this is titled "Man Performs Memorized Chapters of the Bible." I'll let Randall go ahead and play this news story.
People have a favorite Bible verse that they can recite from memory, but what about an entire book? 17's Daniel Tran spoke with a man who has some of the Bible etched into his mind, and he has his story. Daniel.
Kristen Tom Mayer travels from city to city and state to state, sharing the words of the Bible without help from the religious book itself.
Revelation 13.
Revelation chapter 13. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the names of blaspheme.
There are plenty of notes in Tom Meyer's Bible, but he doesn't need the book itself to recite the text.
Genesis 4.
Sure. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain and said, I've gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. Now Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground.
Meyer has 20 of the 66 books of the Bible memorized. Every weekend he is in a new city or even a new state, performing books from the Bible. Today he is in Shafter reciting a letter from Paul to Philemon.
If he hath wronged thee or oweth thee anything, put that on my account.
Meyer spent 4 years in Jerusalem, studying at Jerusalem University College, where he received 2 master's degrees. He spent time learning from rabbis and Muslims who memorized their respective books and applying it to the Bible.
The Bible is originally meant more for the ears than the eyes. It's kind of like reading Mozart versus hearing Mozart.
Meyer's goal is to present the Bible in an engaging way. According to Meyer, he has performed in front of Chuck Norris and the President of Israel, but he has one particular official he wants to perform in front of in mind.
My dream is to speak the most famous book in the world at the White House. So Mr. Trump, if you're watching, have the Bible memory man dazzle you.
According to Meyer, he travels to 75 to 100 cities in a year and will be in San Luis Obispo next weekend. Daniel Tran, 17 News.
Okay, so I actually think this is a cool story, and the reason I think it's cool is because a number of years ago, there was a woman on my show. She's actually the wife of Ethan Pope, who happens to be a financial expert. He's been on our show a couple times, and her name is Janet Pope. And if you go to Amazon.com and you look up Janet Pope, P-O-P-E, you will find her book that she wrote on how she was able to memorize books of the Bible as well. In fact, I believe she's got probably, I think last time I heard, it was probably close to 30 books of the Bible memorized. It might even be more because I haven't interviewed her in a couple of years. Anyway, I remember talking to Janet Pope, and, she gave just some really cool tips on, how we can all start to memorize the Bible and why that's so important. She actually, when she was on my show, we actually had her on to talk about this and how she actually she was being asked to go into Chinese congregations in Southern California and teach the Chinese Christians in America how to memorize the Bible so that they could go back into China, their communist country, and actually share the gospel. So I think it's really neat that this guy, Tom Meyer, has done this too. And, and this story convicts me, honestly, because I don't memorize scripture like I used to, but I know I need to. Because I believe there will be a time, and I don't know if it will be in our lifetime here or not, but I do believe that, exactly, Book of Eli style. I do believe that we are getting close to the end of the age, where where we could very well have our Bibles taken away from us. So, and there's Shelly in the chat room. Nice to see you, Shelly. Just so you know, I'm not on camera because for some reason our camera won't work on me. I don't know why. I'm not a vampire, just so you know. Okay, well, one last story. This is christiannews.com. You can go over there, or is it christiannews.net? I can't remember. Anyway, I just saw this story.
90 seconds.
Yeah, it's christiannews.net. I'm not going to be able to read the whole thing, but it is titled Hundreds Gather for Opening of Why the Bible is True exhibit at Ken Ham's Ark Encounter. So this is cool, again, that Ken Ham from Answers in Genesis and his massive project Ark Encounter had a great grand opening. And there's hundreds and hundreds of people who are out there who are really totally interested in the Bible and
60 seconds
seeing it come to life. So I think that's very cool. So there you go, everybody. That is our show, Day After Summit Live, and our trip to California. You will hear more, I'm sure, because, it's fun. If you missed our evangelism quote of the day, go follow me on Twitter. Is prayer your steering wheel or your spare tire? By Corey Tenboom. That is the quote of the day. And Bareface and me, we will be back tonight with our daily disciple time at 7:30 Central Time. We'll try to be done by 8 so we don't run into Vicky's time, because I kind of got bitch slapped for that over at Summit. And don't forget, Blog Talk Radio people, go follow us on Periscope at periscope.tv/Bible News Radio and watch some of the stuff we did when we were in California. I think you'll enjoy it. So
10 seconds.
Be bold, stand up and go with God because He loves you.